Damien Hirst transformed in art the topics displayed in the contemporaneity, putting together science, art, media, and living culture. The art of Damien Hirst generates a conceptual dynamism touching different perspectives: psychological, with human fears; zoological, linked to the world of animals; the disturbing imaginary in our culture, the notion of an artwork. In Rome, during 2021, over 80 works from the treasures from the wreck of the unbelievable have been exhibited in all the rooms of the Galleria Borghese in Rome, alongside the ancient masterpieces made of materials such as bronze, Carrara marble, and malachite. Hirst, in the series Treasure from the Wreck of the Unbelievable, exhibited for the first time in Venice in 2017 at Palazzo Grassi and Punta della Dogana, worked with different materials, natural, technological, and precious, with exceptional technique and skill. Now, in Rome, at Galleria Borghese Museum, Hirst made artworks with marble, bronze, coral, rock, crystal, semi-precious stones in dialogue among the masterpieces of the gallery's collection, connecting virtually with the desire for multiformity of the founder Cardinal Scipione Borghese. Please enjoy the artist explaining the show in this video.
Wow, what about this room? Unbelievable. So strange being in here when there's no people here, like on a Monday, because it's closed to the public. It's like an unbelievable room. I remember coming here when I was a student. Whenever I came to Rome, I'd always visit Borghese and I'd draw from all these like marble sculptures, copies, and real things like this, for instance. Fucking unbelievable. Bernini, The Rape of Persephone. It's just unbelievable. I remember seeing this and just thinking that, well, it made me want to give up art, really. I mean, look at that hand. It's just so unbelievable. It looks like it's flesh. How can you make flesh out of solid rock? I've got absolutely no idea. Maybe it was 3D carved by robots in the future and sent back in time. Anyway, I remember drawing the Cerberus on this when I was a student, and I think it inspired the Cerberus that I made, the three-headed dog from hell, which is like, this is my version of it that I made. I was very worried about having it next to the Bernini, but I think it actually works quite well, and it doesn't look too out of place. I was worried that these things were just going to look totally fake and contemporary, but they don't. They just sit at home and they seem to join the party and celebrate in the same way what's going on in the Villa Borghese. The hieroglyphs on this I carved. This was supposed to be a temple ornament that was found by the Egyptians, and they hijacked it. So this is supposed to be carved into it after it was broken and after it was found, and they never bothered to put it back into its correct position. They just carved into it, and the Egyptian hieroglyphs would always go the straight way, so you know that that's the way up it should be. And this is an ancient Coptic text, which and all three texts are the same story, which is the story of the Cerberus. And it's the way that I did it was I wrote the story out myself, and I had it translated into ancient Greek and then translated into hieroglyphs from that using scholars at the British Museum. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Oh, this is called Golden Doors. And this is gilded bronze with glass stones. And it's meant to look like that this was robbed in a hurry at some point, where someone came along with like pieces of metal and stole a lot of the stones out of it over time, like grave robbers. And it's supposed to be doors that were put into a grave to give you access to the afterlife. This is called Grecian Nude, and it's the coral version of this sculpture. And it's supposed to be a pink marble sculpture which is laid at the bottom of the sea for 2,000 years and accrued all this coral. And then it's been found and brought up and put in this room in that state. And it works really well in here with all this marble and granite and all these carved stones. And it's based on a Barbie. Like a lot of the treasures, I always put contemporary references in. So to take this idealized figure of a woman and then make it ancient. I like to play with materials, play with history. The sculptures that I'm really pleased with in this room are these two urns, because these are carved from marble and they work really well in here. They look amazing. And there's two of them, there's a pair of them. And on one of them, the handles are made from poisonous snakes. And this one's got a unicorn and a lion on it. So two unicorns and two lions with these amazing carved snakes. And then this one's got a ram and a goat, like a devil's head, and the snakes as well. And they're a pair, even though they've got different animals carved into them. But in this room, they look like, they kind of blur the line between the old and the new, I think. I mean, it's amazing to see all these things, because I was making them in a vacuum, really. I wasn't making them in, in a museum, or I didn't really imagine them in this context. When I was making them, I was really making contemporary art. But I was imagining all these ancient works. I was looking at a lot at the British Museum, and I was visiting museums, but I was then going back to my studio, and I was kind of making things new in clay and working with lots of different artisans from all over the world, in China, in Germany, in Italy. And I kind of imagined they were contemporary. So to see them in this context is unbelievable, because I think they ticked all the boxes for me, because I wanted them to kind of fool you but leave you asking questions. I just wanted them to raise loads of questions, and I think they do that. But they stand out in here in their own way, and they don't disappear. I mean, I think I was worried that because I'm a contemporary artist, you have some sort of thing about artists from the past where you just think they're so amazing, they blow your mind, they're like, they're untouchable in some way. So I think the idea of putting my works into this context was quite a frightening thing, because you think you can't really touch the past in this way. So I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. What an opportunity as well to be given to put my works into this amazing museum. I mean, so honoured, it's unbelievable. Here we go again with another Bernini. Unbelievable. Look at this one, Apollo and Daphne. This is where Daphne is turned into a tree by Apollo. Amazing sculpture. Metamorphosis. And amazing in this room, I've got a sculpture in here which is called Pair of Slaves Bound for Execution. And there's three versions of it. They've got different names as well, but this is supposed to be a marble sculpture which was used for target practice during the war. And the sculptures, the figures in the sculpture, this was a Michelangelo slave. I took the figure of a Michelangelo slave and made it into a woman. And then I took a sculpture of actually it was a painting by an American painter called Hiram Powers, who did a figure of a woman in a much more simple pose like that. So I changed that to a man, and I used those and put them together, and then historically put it back in time. And then this is the coral version of it. which is great when you look at this next to the Bernini, because it's got like that metamorphosis again. It's like it's like the under the sea it's been reclaimed and changed, and it's got that transformation. And I never really thought about that. That's not it's not something I've done. It's just a juxtaposition. There's that word again. We should flash it up on screen every time I say juxtaposition. That was done by Anna and Mario. Thank you so much. Amazing room. And then over here we've got the carved granite version of the same sculpture. So this is solid granite, and this is supposed to be the treasure, which is how it looks cleaned up. I mean, I put lots of contradictions in all these sculptures. So like a lot of the chains are very contemporary chains. They're not old. This one's called Children of a Dead King. So I kind of wanted the titles to seem like the titles came from the people who discovered the sculptures, because the titles were lost. I love that word arcane, which means so old that it's kind of lost meaning and lost its originality, so we can only guess. But I don't know, it kind of makes things believable when you have to guess at things. But there's a fragility as well in this. Like all these chains are carved from granite. So the idea that they've survived 2,000 years, and this was all carved from one solid block of granite, and to think that the chains, which all that time have not been broken. That was my thinking anyway, was to make these sort of unbelievable things that had survived, time, the ravages of time. And so to then have that, and to have it near this Bernini, which is also something which has survived. Well, this is not also, it's like this is actually something that survived. I mean, look at the roots growing out of her feet in this. It's like they're so fragile and delicate. And, it's like, you can see there are breaks and it's been glued back together. But even so, all these leaves, the way that she's like becoming a tree, it's unbelievable. I like this stuff as well, where like somebody's, some museum curator, probably Victorian times, would be painting numbers on the sculptures as they made them part of the collection. Crazy, really, when you think about it. To do that, we'd never do that today. But I guess people want to possess things, people want to own them, that's why they do that. But what a sculpture. And what a room to have my sculptures in. Yeah, I mean, this sculpture, the Bernini is obviously marble. And this sculpture I made is painted bronze, and I made it to look like marble. I've actually made a marble version as well since. But I wanted to look at what the marble looked like, so I made would look like, so I made a bronze first of all. And then this is bronze, and this is actually carved granite as well. So I wanted to mess around with materials. And it's amazing in this room to see it displayed like this. Seems perfect the way they've hung it. Big shout out to the curators. Whoop! I love the curators. Anna and Mario, we love you. So David's sculpture in the middle of the room by Bernini. How many Berninis do you need? Jeez. And in this room, they've placed two of my sculptures of Neptune. And this is the first version of Neptune, which is the treasure, which is carved from lapis, and the worms are carved from white agate. And this took over 2 years to carve in Germany, from many pieces of lapis and many pieces of white agate. And then I've got the coral version of it as well. Sorry, the copy version of it, which is made from blue, painted, patinated bronze. So a bronze and a lapis version. Again, I made this really first and then decided to carve it in lapis after I'd done this. I can't believe how amazing these sculptures look in these rooms. After my initial trepidation, I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. And the slave up there is really good. Slave painting, as you come from the room before with the slave, and then the David and Goliath painting up here as well. Such amazing art in here. I mean, I think it works both ways. It's like it makes, putting these works in here bring the older works to life. I mean, they're always going to be full of life, but I think when you get the kind of playfulness of what's happening with the treasures works and that kind of illusion and truth, I think it brings everything else to life in the room and makes you, I don't know, I think it makes you realize that the truth is in your own head and not really, it's not out in the world for us to discover. It's something we have to create ourselves or something like that. Wow, I mean, look at this. I didn't even notice this. Look at these guys. Hercules. Look at that, 5 stages of Hercules. The trials of Hercules, amazing. Wow. I could stay here all day. This room, I put colour space paintings where paintings were missing from the collection. I'm not quite sure why the paintings aren't there, but maybe they're on loan. But I put this long vertical one up between these two figures, and I think it works really well. And then in the corner, this other one, there was a gap where a painting was. So I really like the way that the contemporary paintings are filling the space. I mean, I think of everything in the Borghese really as contemporary anyway, because it feels so new and fresh the way it's all together and it's all put with, everything's exciting. You kind of feel everything, it draws you in and you feel like you can, get involved with everything. It's like, you don't get that in most museums, but, even down to the whole building, everything throws you back at the art with like loads more energy and power. And in here I've got Reclining Woman, which is carved from pink marble. This is the treasure, and this was made in Italy, so it's really nice to think that I kind of molded it in London and then made cast versions of it in Gloucestershire in my studio, and then took the resin that I've made from that back to Italy and had it carved by Italian carvers, and they've done an unbelievable job. This is made from ostrich skin. If you look really closely here, you can even see the stitches in the ostrich leather when they're being pulled apart. So that's like this is a contemporary way of upholstering. It's not really old. But I mean, unbelievable job that they've done. In fact, I don't know how they've done it. All this ostrich skin is carved from pink marble. And you can see the stitches here are all carved from marble to look like they're made from leather. And like it's pulling taut. It's amazing the job they've done on it, even underneath here. And then also in this room, I've got this sculpture, which is red marble and grey agate. These barnacles are carved in grey agate. And this is called Aten. And it's kind of my version of Nefertiti with the hat like that. What's amazing is that I used Rihanna. I cast Rihanna to make this sculpture. And then when I cast her, I realized she's got these amazing sculptures and loads of them are Egyptian. So I recreated her tattoos, in it. I realized she's got these amazing tattoos, which are her tattoos. So they're in it. She's even got a tattoo of Nefertiti. Wild. But I made this double life size. look at these. This is called the Archer. Female archer. In the skirt, I did lots of images related to a lot of other treasures and lots of my work, like the diamond skull. Here, cows and sheep and shells, all the things on here, all the rest of the treasures. And this is from a Leonardo da Vinci drawing. It's a drawing of a plant. They did like a botanical drawing that I've always liked, and so I made a 3D version of it and added it to the floor of this sculpture. And that's a copy, so it's made life-size, whereas this is the actual coral, which is the treasure.